Let's get some more perspectives and analysis on the outcomes of the G20 summit. William Gubeda, Chairperson, Democracy Works Foundation, joins us live from Johannesburg, and Professor Israel Kodiaga, the Chief Executive Officer at Southern Delta International, a Kenyan-based policy think tank, joins us as well from here in Nairobi. William, let me begin with you. Reflecting on the just concluded G20 summit, which points would you consider as the most relevant issues discussed for Africa, and why?
I mean, the first thing is there was a focus on creating youth employment across the globe. Now, youth employment for Africans, is a very, very big issue, because you have to think about it. Africa has youth bulge. We've got more young people in Africa than any other region. But we also have more unemployed young people. And that is why we see, some of the migrations from Africa to Europe, young people looking for jobs. So, that was quite a crucial agenda item for Africans. Secondly, also crucial for Africans is, the idea of coming up with a new global tax policy. Many global companies in Africa are not necessarily paying the right kind of tax, and it means African countries don't have the revenue that they deserve, for development. For me, those are the two really key issues, related to Africa.
Professor Kodiaga, moving forward, to what extent might the key issues discussed affect Africa in the next 12 months?
To a very large extent, these issues basically resonate across the board. And like when you talk about the issues about unemployment of the youth, you talk about the issues that deal with the area of sustainability basically. You find in the next 12 months, Africa will have to actually lobby with the body to the G20 to see how Africa can also leverage on the area issues of development, on the issues of trade, as well as the issues of climate change, which basically cuts across all territories and does not respect territorial boundary. On the other side, on the matters of enhancing resilience, the matter of international tax is very critical. And in the next 12 months, Africa must, as of necessity, find how does she fall within the brackets of the international tax and benefits from this, not forgetting the issues of anti-corruption. You see, corruption has been a critical thing in Africa, and for trade and for all these things to flow, there's need to deal with this. So I am sure in the next 12 months running on, Africa will also have to address these things so that she puts her acts right, she gets her house clean to be able to benefit out of this.
Right. So, William, do you feel there were key points that weren't addressed but should have been? And if so, which ones and why?
I mean, the other issue which I didn't mention is, global trade. Think about it, the trade rules currently is really skewed against African countries. Many African countries, find it difficult to export their products, to, for example, industrial countries, to the G20 countries. And, for African countries really to raise their development, to raise their economic growth, we need some changes in the way the world's global trade rules are constructed to make it more fair. From where I'm sitting, it seems that, the trade issue has been on the agenda, but it doesn't seem to be any political way to, to address that issue.
Right. So, Professor Kodiaga, let me come to you. South Africa is the only African nation in the G20. In your view, is the continent adequately represented in as far as espousing an African position on global issues?
Before I respond to that, allow me to bite a chunk from the matter of the global trade. I think first and foremost, it is in the Africa's best interest not to sit waiting for some manna to fall from some donors on the international global trade arena. It is up to Africa actually to up her game and to be a critical player in this game. So I think when we are talking about global trade, it is important that Africa comes up with clear, cogent and proper policies geared towards participating in the global arena as far as trade is concerned. Number two, on the matter of South Africa's involvement in the G20, That has nothing to do with Africa. Number one, don't forget that South Africa joined the G20 in her own individual capacity as an invited member of that club. Number two, as we speak today, Nigeria has surpassed South Africa if we are looking at economic strengths. So in any case, it is not the correct representation of Africa. And remember also, when South Africa goes here, she goes into the G20 with South African agenda. And up to this stage, there has not been a platform where Africa has given critical issues that South Africa ought to present to the G20. So
Right.
I do not think South Africa represents Africa in the G20 whatsoever.
All right, interesting discussion there. Professor Israel Kodiaga, live for us here in Nairobi, and from Johannesburg, William Gumede. Very many thanks to the both of you for joining us.